So I'm going to make some changes to this application. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this word update to be a nice little icon instead. It's a bit of a usability thing really, makes it more consistent with how other interfaces work. So I've started by looking at Bootstrap icons, and if I just follow through, it shows me here a bunch of icons, and if I go searching on the page, I'm looking for pencil. There's a whole bunch of them. Clicking on this one, there's different options about how you use these in your application. I like using SVGs because SVGs scale really nicely. It's a vector graphic which is drawn rather than being a JPEG, which is sort of bits and pixels. So no matter how much you zoom in, it's always super sharp. So I'm going to take that, go to this page, and instead of having the text update here, delete that, replace with, did I copy that? Control V. Go back, Control C and Control V. Sweet. Not the only way to do it, doesn't look the prettiest, but if we just go with this and have a look, and we've got a nice little icon now. So that was about a 30-second change, and it's something you can talk about in terms of usability. So the next thing I want to do is I've got some books which have been assigned to people. So I'd like to be able to click on this book and it will show me who has been assigned to do this book. I think that would be a reasonable thing to do. So it's going to be straightforward enough. I'm just going to actually walk through the whole step here. So we've got book name in this TD here. So I'm going to put an ahref equals, and I'm going to link to a page which doesn't exist yet, I think. So it's going to be, what should it be? Assigned books. Yeah, assigned books. And it's going to be question mark book ID equals. And the link will be, or the thing that is clickable will be the actual book name, won't it? This thing here, Control C, Control V, and book ID equals, I guess that needs to be the actual book ID, which I already have right here, don't I? So let's just Control C, Control V. So that's a very quick little change, and this should be, I may have made a mistake here, we're going to find out. Easiest to click go sometimes, and I have an error, unexpected bracket, so must have done a copy and paste error right there. One more time. View books. Yeah, so I'll tidy that up in a minute. In fact, no, let's tidy it up now. Let's just do what we need to do. So I no longer want book name to appear here as well, do I? Sweet. So this does not yet exist, assigned books. So rather than go from scratch, what I think I'll do is copy and paste one. So I want to, if only I had a view users over here, which I don't at the moment. View books.html. I'm just going to duplicate that. So the idea is I'm going to be able to click on a book and it will show me the book title here somewhere, up here maybe, probably down here, and it will also show me the list of students who have been assigned to that book. So I've got to think about the query that I'm going to do. So I'm going back to my access file here. Here's the books, here's my users, and here's my assigned books, book ID, user ID, and so on. So I'm going to want the users related to these numbers here and the information about the book. So let's do that as a query. So going into query design, thinking about the table that is going to have tables that are going to have the data I want. So I definitely want assigned books, and I definitely want the users, and I'm probably going to want the book information as well, like the book name and so on. So I actually want all three tables. So what do I want? So we need the the book ID, because that's the one we just clicked on. We want the last name, first name, and user ID of the person who has been assigned to that book, and I also want the book name. That'll do. So those are the fields that I want. Now this is a key moment. Having done this, I need to think about selecting the particular book that I want, and that's going to be based on the book ID. Now that is going to happen at runtime. Obviously when we click on a particular link, the book ID is going to be passed through to us. But just for the sake of building this query, I'm going to put a placeholder number there, 4. And what that will give me in the SQL view, it says where book ID equals 4. So I can work with that now, even though that's going to be replaced by something else later. So Control C, and I'm going to go into my app.py, and I'm going to think about my view assigned. Looks like I've already got something here. I'd already set myself up to do this. I'm going to change this to assigned books. Assigned books, and just for consistency, I will go with assigned books. Actually, that might have been a better title before. Never mind. I'm going to go with what I had, and then replace the pass. I'm just going to Control V in with my query to begin with. And I'll put SQL equals, and I'll need a speech mark at the end, and so I don't want this to be on one super long line, so I'm just going to tab that into there, that into there, and I think what you do is you put in backslash on each line, and that tells it to go across multiple lines. I think that'll work. Right, so obviously this 4 is going to be replaced, and if I think about it, let's do that right now. Back in the view books, which I don't have any open anymore, view books.html, I'd set book ID equal to the number that I want. So I am going to, where am I? App.py. I'm going to go and get that. So book ID equals request.args, and what was it? Book ID. Book ID, and that will be what goes instead of that. In fact, I can just write that right now. I can say vals equals brackets book ID, and replace that with a %s, and I know I'm good to go. So that's as simple as it needs to be in terms of using Access in order to sort of generate the SQL with the where query clause criteria as part of that. Anyway, so usual kind of stuff. I'm now going to look for a select. This looks like the select that I want, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that kind of here, and then I've got my SQL elsewhere. In fact, I don't want this one, do I? Because this one hasn't got the vowels in it, and I want to do the one with the vowels in it. So where's one with got vowels in it? Here we go, where username equals and password equals. So take that little lot. I'm just kind of modeling how you go about efficiently copying and pasting in order to get your code to work correctly. So first thing is, of course, always fixing your indentation issues. Good enough. And delete these 2 lines. Delete. Replace with these 2 lines. Control X, Control V, fix my indentation, and not user equals cursor.fetchAll, it's going to be users in this case, isn't it? Users and books, in fact, users and book equals cursor.fetchAll, and then I forgot to get the redirect or the render template, so I'll just grab one other line somewhere. Control C, Control V, and what was it? It's going to be assigned books.html, and none of that lot. It'll be users and book equals users and book. So I'm at the stage now where I have I've got a page which does not yet have anything worthwhile in it, but I have all the information which is going to go onto that page, which is everything from this query, which in my case didn't work because I hadn't got, I think the book ID I chose was a book that doesn't exist, possibly, something like that. Okay, so moving to assigned books.html. For booking books, let's go with something a little bit better than that. So for user and book in user and books, and then I'll just build up the rest of this table, which I will not narrate. Right, let's see if this will work. I've just basically decided to put the username, which I think will be last name and first name, and I've also decided to put the actual book name as the title, which will appear at the top. There's a possibility that will work. Let's save and go. So view books, click on a book, unsurprisingly got an error. Yeah, that's me just not being careful enough for my copy and pasting. I hope you weren't paying attention to that. So obviously I'm not going to have the password, and it's not the login form anymore. That's where I copied and pasted this from. Let's give it another go. View books, The Martian has not worked, and then we need to start debugging that. Didn't crash, so we've got something else to look at. So first thing I always do in a circumstance like this is print users and books. Let's see if we're getting any data out of that. Users, look, users and books. Yeah, this isn't, I've got a feeling I've done it wrong in the other one, haven't I? I've got myself confused about users and book and users and books and so on. Is that right? Yeah, there you go. So for user and book in users and book, it's just me not thinking that correctly, users and book is because there's one book and multiple users. So user and book is correct here. So yeah, I've been a little bit more careful. Let's see if that resolves anything. I seem to have left a print statement in. Hopefully I spelled the print statement correctly. View books, click on that. Nope, but let's go and see what the print statement did for us. Right, that's interesting. So we did get that book come out, and what's nice is it is always the same book. So I clicked on the Martian, I've seen everyone who has been assigned to do the Martian. So I can kind of stop looking at app.py now, because I know that has come through. I'm just going to do a last check that this has come through. This is all spelled correctly. Yeah, looks right. So my guess is my loop is wrong. Let's see what I've got for user and book. Oh, look at that, shocking. I bet you were all cringing when you saw me do that wrong. One more time. So view books, The Martian. So clearly here my table, the loop is working, but clearly I have got my field names wrong. So let's just check, what are my field names? Capitalized L, capitalized F. I think I'm not being consistent here, am I? So let's assume that it's the same in my MySQL, and maybe this will be the time that it actually works correctly. I'd like to believe. So view books. So these are all the users who have been assigned to read that particular book. That will do for this video.